Hey everyone, welcome to the Super Review Show's Mixed Bag. Once again, I am joined by my good man, Bill Murphy.
Hello, everyone.
It's so good to be back here on Wednesday night doing our typical routine here on the Super Review Show known as Mixed Bag. Tonight's topic, I'm going to do all the talking on this, though, and let him explain everything. But tonight's topic is, since May, and in many different situations across the country, May is Mental Health Awareness Month. And we're highlighting a bunch of movies that we think you guys should check out in response to May's Mental Health Awareness Month. Bill, what else you got on that?
Yeah, so since May is Mental Health Awareness Month, like JT just said, we're going to be talking about some films that do include mental health and other things.
Yep.
And also we are going to throw in something extra too. I just want to say we are not experts. We're not psychologists.
Yep.
So, and all these movies are our own opinions.
Mm-hmm.
If you want a more professional opinion about how mental health is treated, we ask that you go speak to a professional.
Okay.
So, so Mental Health Awareness Month. Mental health is important. And I know this past year, I bet everyone's mental health has been absolutely out there.
And might I chime in for a sec? This topic is a little bit not controversial. It's just one of those topics like not many people like talking about it. But tonight we're going to mainly focus on the movies. But if you have any like suggestions or anything, just jump in the chat board, let us know, and we'll figure out where to go from here. So, Bill,
okay, sounds good.
What is our first movie we're discussing on the Super Review Show tonight for our Mental Health Awareness Month?
Well, I think there's one movie we should discuss. I think this was the one that kind of like was one of the first ones to portray mental health in films, and that is, of course, Milos Forman's 1975 film, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
I completely agree. Here we go.
I actually do have a review of this movie coming out soon-ish.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and here's the picture for those of you at home. So, Bill, why don't you get into it? Because I have only seen bits and pieces. But you're watching the movie as we are doing our broadcast tonight. What have you noticed, and what can you tell us about One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest?
Okay, the plot is Jack Nicholson plays Randall Patrick McMurphy. God, I think I've met my match when it comes to being Irish. Yeah, but it's about he's been in a prison for having inappropriate relations with a young girl.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. But then he starts acting crazy, so he could get sent to a mental institution.
Uh-huh.
So he's in the mental institution that it is run by the antagonist, Nurse Ratched. That lady right there in the white coat.
Gotcha.
And it's just like, okay, I think this is like the stereotypical what people think of a mental institution, and that is, the white clothes,
Yeah.
Like I watched this when I was actually in a high school psychology class.
Okay.
And I remember my teacher would point out like the different methods that were used. Like, for instance, there's a scene when she's playing music.
Mm-hmm.
And that is sort of like a thing about control.
Right.
And that is sort of a thing about control. And it's like, it controls them.
Yeah.
It controls the group. And, and I think what's so interesting, and I'll probably say this in my review, I think why Nurse Ratched is such an interesting villain, she's not yelling and screaming most of the time. She's very calm. She has a very calm tone of voice. That very, she's evil, but she's very subtle about it.
Uh-huh.
And you can tell, her one big weapon is control. And throughout the movie, McMurphy starts being friends with all the whatchamacallit, with all the patients, and it's a nice movie to watch, but it does get very disturbing towards the end, which I'm not going to be spoiling it because, like I said, I'm going to be doing a review of this.
Yep.
So I want to just, I'm just going to leave it to interpretation. So, JT, you've only said you've seen parts of this.
I've only seen chunks of it. I do know that Jack Nicholson is there's one thing I do know is that Jack Nicholson is a dynamite actor. He still is. He's one of the best. He's one of the GOATs. He's one of the greatest of all time. This movie, and I turns out I was reading up on it. We'll go to Wikipedia now. It was based off a book. I found out.
It was.
I didn't know that until I started reading this earlier today before we were live. Now, I was just going over like the story and when the book was written, and then it eventually became a major motion picture in 1975. The story to me is very intriguing. It's like really like incredibly shocking. And the director was Kubrick, right? No, music was
Milos Forman.
Milos Forman. Sorry, that was my bad. For some reason, no, I'm thinking of Clockwork Orange. For some reason, that's my bad. That's two separate movies.
That also has to do with mental health in a way.
We could talk about that later. I mean, that's not bad. But I mean, I just want to say, and the parts that like I said, I cannot comment on the actual movie as an actual like.
And it is only one of 3 films, and no, I'm not just reading it there. I actually knew this beforehand. It's actually only one of 3 films that won Academy Awards in all the 5 major categories, which is Best Picture, Actor in a Leading Role, Actress in a Leading Role, Director, and Screenplay.
Wow.
The other being It Happened One Night in 1934, and this didn't happen again until 16 years later for Silence of the Lambs.
I think I talked about this when I did Silence of the Lambs review. I think I remember putting that in the video.
By the way,
yeah.
Whilst we're on that, real quick, I had his liver with a side of fava beans and a nice Chianti.
Lovely.
I'd love to chat more, but I'm having an old friend for dinner. Okay, I'm done.
We could talk about that too, honestly. Now that I think about it. I'll open up another tab. So look, as I was saying, I've only seen bits and chunks of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. I've seen the trailer numerous times, because sometimes, to be honest, I like to go back and watch movie trailers to put myself back on like the day it came out kind of thing. And honestly, like this movie was intriguing to me. Like the fact that like he is in prison for a rape of a girl, and he is then transferred into a hospital where he basically pretends to be a mental patient. I think Jack Nicholson though is the man. He to be honest, watching even in the bits and pieces I've seen, seeing him, no one else could have played it at the time. To be honest with you, no one could have come close to him, in my opinion.
One of my favorite lines in that movie. Let's see which one of you nuts have guts.
Yeah, I mean it's true, and I mean it just. Like I said, I haven't seen it, but it is widely considered to be one of the greatest films ever made. It's one of the best. I mean, based on what I've read, like I said, I haven't seen the whole thing, but I do know that this movie is, when you say like list off the greatest films of all time or in the 20th century or whatever, this is up in like the top 30.
This is on the list. This is definitely on the list.
This is definitely within the top like 20 or 30 of all time. It's fantastic. For what I understand, but honestly, like I said, there's not much else I can go on about it, other than if you haven't seen it, and I'm talking to myself in this case, watch it for what it's worth.
Absolutely, I think you need to watch it.
I think I do need to watch, honestly. I mean, I know that Bill said he's shooting a review for us here at the Super Review Show.
Yeah, it'll be out by the end of the week.
Yeah, he's gonna upload it. He's gonna send it to me, and we'll upload it then. But this is one of those movies where you're just like, you know what? You got to watch it. And I'm talking to myself in this case. I have to see One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest at some point soon. So maybe on a rainy day. Who knows?
Oh, it's raining today.
Oh, that's right. I completely forgot about that. Bill, what is our next film that we want to talk about? Do you have any other comments really quick before we go on?
Nah, since I just did one, why don't you do one?
I'm going to talk about. Well, I'm going to talk about one that we just kind of referenced because of the Oscars, and I didn't even think about it until we started. So we started recording. The Silence of the Lambs.
I haven't seen it in a while, but
okay. I saw it not too long ago. I must say, like the past 2 or 3 years, so it's still kind of fresh in my brain. I can talk a lot about this if you want.
Okay, yeah. Since I covered Cuckoo's Nest.
Yeah, you covered Cuckoo's Nest. I'll cover Lambs. Silence of the Lambs. I mean, what it's about, it's basically, for those who have not seen Silence of the Lambs, it's do yourself a favor and watch Silence of the Lambs. This movie is a freak show of a film. Came out in 1991, and it's about how it's based on a novel, a 1988 book, and it's about Jodie Foster stars as Clarice, and she's an FBI agent who's working to find a serial killer and who basically skins his female victims. And I don't mean like, when I mean skin, I mean like he actually like skins them. It's pretty disturbing stuff. But it was a great film, and she has to work with Hannibal Lecter, who is, Clarice. And that line is from this movie. Honestly, I love this movie. It's one of my favorite films of the 90s. If we would ever go by Bill, if we would ever do a decade show, and then we did the 90s, I definitely talk about this movie. I recommend it quite a bit.
Yeah, because we talked about doing that. So maybe in the future.
Maybe in a few weeks we'll do it, who knows. But basically this film, man, Silence of the Lambs, and what a star-filled cast too. Jodie Foster and Anthony Hopkins' chemistry on screen was fantastic. I ate it up. It was delectable, as Hannibal Lecter might say. And I don't want to spoil the ending, but basically it's about, like I said, it's about an FBI agent who's working to find the serial killer named Buffalo Bill, and she has to work with a serial killer to find him. The FBI is trying to help them out. It's a whole shebang production of the Hannibal Lecter films. And also there's other films as well. There's other films in the Hannibal Lecter like franchise, I guess. There was also a TV show at one point on NBC. They did a couple seasons of that called Hannibal. Talk about that if you want. It's totally fine. And I haven't seen that show, but I do know that I heard it was a very good show for the time being. Honestly, there's not much else I can say about Silence of the Lambs other than I recommend you see it for what it is. It's a fantastic film. Bill, do you have any comments?
Like I said, I haven't seen it in a while, and I don't really remember it. But do the land stop screaming?
Do they?
Yeah.
I forget the line. Sorry.
And I just thought of a movie, and like I said, I've only seen a little bit of this next one. Like, I'm just like randomly thinking of shit here right now.
Yeah, it's fine. Go ahead.
Taxi Driver.
I didn't even think of that. That's a good one. You talking to me?
Because you know what? I actually have it's not just about the movie. There's also something else which I'll get into a second. But it's just of an impact of something that happened. Taxi Driver is about a taxi driver who has a plan to kill a politician who this girl he's into is interested in. And I didn't really want to talk much about the film because, like I said, I haven't seen the whole thing, but I wanted to bring up something interesting because you brought up Jodie Foster.
Yeah,
and
go
that's
ahead.
like with mental health. This movie, and this may tie off to another conversation. I want to get your thoughts.
Sure.
This movie was a favorite of a gentleman named John Hinckley Jr. If anyone knows that name, you know where I'm going with this. John Hinckley Jr. saw the movie, and he wanted to try to impress Jodie Foster.
Okay.
So in March 1981, he goes to this DC hotel, and you know what he does?
What does he do?
He shoots President Reagan.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and you know what's the interesting? That day, that was actually the day that the Oscars were supposed to be held.
Oh, okay.
and it was postponed to the next day because of President Reagan being shot.
I had no idea.
And the irony is, Robert De Niro is in this movie, and the next day you know who won an Oscar for Best Actor?
Who?
Robert De Niro for Raging Bull.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And while he was, he gives a speech, and then he goes, and then after people win the Oscars, it's actually they go off to this thing where they meet the press, and the press asks them questions. They're like, Mr. De Niro, the guy who shot the president yesterday said he was a big fan of Taxi Driver, a movie you were in.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like you're partway responsible for this? Well, not those exact words, but
Right.
But it just goes into, I know, a bigger conversation. But like, do you think films like this could cause people to do shit like that?
Honestly, I think anything is possible in today's society, especially back then. It was like what, the 80s? Is that
that was 1981.
Yeah. So here's what I'm thinking. Honestly, I really like anything can happen in any situation. Anything can happen. It's just the truth. What I honestly think, but do I think Robert De Niro, he's an Academy level award-winning actor? Do I think that he would be responsible for something like that? I don't think so at all, to be honest. Yes, he was. Because look, what year did you say that happened? 1981.
Yes, and this movie came out in 1976.
So there's what? How many years is that? That's what, 7 years? That's a 5-year difference. Years. My math is off. Sorry. That's a 5-year difference between one movie that changed everyone's life and a life-changing event that changed everyone. So do I think that that's like a total like thing? Not really. Do I think the two are connected? Not really at all, to be honest with you.
Plus, this is going off, this is going off to another, this goes off to like when incidents like this happen.
Yeah.
They find stuff to blame. Like, oh, it was this movie. It was it was this movie. It was this book. It was heavy metal music. I was very young. JT, I don't think even was around when this was happening. But, like in the 90s when we saw school shootings, a lot of blame was on heavy metal music and violent video games.
Right.
Like, I don't know if you remember, like I was very young when all that was happening.
No, I mean, I've heard of that stuff. I haven't paid attention much to it, but I've heard those connections made before.
But but like the thing is, it's like people who do those things are already not all there. A lot of people who do those actions are not exactly all.
No, I Bill, you and I, that's a conversation we can have off camera.
But
but I hear what you're saying though.
Yeah, but that was, like a year earlier, people were blaming the book The Catcher in the Rye because it allegedly caused Mark David Chapman to shoot John Lennon. But
right.
But you know what? I think there was a episode of South Park, and I think it describes it perfectly. Like when they were reading The Catcher in the Rye, and one of the characters, Kyle, goes, "Mr. Garrison, isn't this the book that inspired that guy to kill John Lennon?" And Mr. Garrison goes, "Yes, Kyle. John Lennon's character says, John Lennon's killer says he was inspired by this book, but in all reality, he was just a kook."
Right.
And I'm not that I'm dismissing that, but yeah, but I just thought, because you brought up Jodie Foster, and I remember that hearing that Hinckley wanted to shoot Reagan to impress Jodie Foster.
Right. I got
and you know what the irony of the, and you know what the actually the funny irony of all that is?
What?
Jodie Foster is a lesbian.
Really? I didn't know that, actually.
She's not into men. So, John, she wasn't going to be impressed by that.
That's funny.
Not that I'm making fun of this situation. But
no, of course. No, that's kind of funny. That situation's funny.
It's just not that Reagan was shot, but just the irony that he was trying to impress Jodie Foster, and Jodie Foster's not into men. So
right.
It's just kind of funny. But yeah, but you know what? That does raise a serious question.
Yeah. Anything else for Taxi Driver though, bud?
I think we're good.
All right. So another film that we have pulled out for you tonight is, I'll talk about it if you want, Bill, first, because you just
What
talked
movie
about
is
that.
it?
The Breakfast Club. We'll get
Yeah,
the
you
joke
just did a review of it.
Yeah, plug for our super review of the Breakfast Club. This movie, bugs, and less about mental health. It's more about just teenagers getting along. I mentioned this in the review, and I'm glad we brought it up. I'm glad we brought it up tonight, and also did a review of it as well. I think I mentioned this actually. This movie talks about. It shows these five. Basically, if you've never seen the Breakfast Club, first things first, watch it. It's fantastic.
Go see it.
Go. Classic John Hughes. Classic
Don't you
everything.
forget about it.
Oh, don't you forget about this movie, guys. But for real, this movie is great because on several reasons. Number one, and I'll get to the third big reason in a second. The first reason is because it showed how five complete strangers can get along. And that's something that that was so much less about like teenagers and drugs and mental health. That was a lot more about like humanity, how like, or just people getting along, how we need to be inclusive together. It's just the truth. Honestly though, like Judd, I forget what they said in the trailer. Because I'm trying to think, because you know me, I watch a lot of trailers. A punk, a jockey, a goth, not a goth, you know what I mean? A beauty queen and a nerd all get along and they all become the Breakfast Club. And this, look at that shot. That's a great shot right there of the whole cast. Honestly, incredible. The casting of all five characters are spot on. I could not see like Sean Austin do this back in the day. I could not see like, you know what I mean? There's so much here that's to be said. And honestly, yeah. In the movie, were they smoking pot? Yeah. Were they? I'm trying to think. I'm drawing a blank. Were they? Did they all get along in the end though? Yeah. And there was some anxiety, there was some stress here and there, whatnot. But at the same time, these five characters who had completely different backgrounds all got along in the end, and it was great. And of course, the very iconic. I mentioned this in the ending of the video I made for the review of it. The ending of it with the Judd Nelson character holding his fist up in the air as "Don't You Forget About Me" is being played. Classic 80s moment right there.
That is a classic 80s moment.
And one thing I touched on this, and I want to go more in depth with it right now. This film should be remade. Here's why I say that The Breakfast Club should have a remake today. Not for the reasons of, oh, why are you going to remake The Breakfast Club? What is wrong with you? Blah, blah, blah. Shut up. No film is irreplaceable. You're fine. All right. Relax. So The Breakfast Club can have a remake because you can it's a perfect film to drag other elements of teenagers today in high school with social media, with anxiety, with stress, and other topics like that. You can drag them into a Breakfast Club remake or a film just like the Breakfast Club, but a brand new writer and everything too. But if you remake it, The Breakfast Club, and you do that spin on it, and you might have people's attention. But this is a movie a lot of people have seen. A lot of people have seen The Breakfast Club either at one point in their life or another. And if you haven't, like I said, get on it. But I think it's due for a remake for the reasons of, look, this movie came out in 1985, and you know what? You let Fall Out Boy does a song for it or whatever, and call it a day. And you could remake it with different things that you could do more drugs, you could do social media, you could do anxiety, stress, mental health. Again, we're not trying to stress that point at all here, but like I said, tonight's episode is about bringing awareness to mental health and bringing awareness with movies that talk about it. We're not trying to degrade people or anything like that, or call it the wrong thing whatsoever. It's not. We're trying our best tonight to be as crystal clear with you as we can about how it is important to be aware of it, and films that we think could bring it up in a good manner.
No, absolutely.
So I hope that was well spent. There's good poetry coming out of my mouth.
Yeah, but I think a Breakfast Club remake would actually be interesting because you deal it with today's problems.
Yeah, and you could do the same like kind of like casting, like a punk guy, a jock guy, a beauty prom queen girl, a nerd, and a nobody. Put that all together today, and you could have different elements in it. I don't, Bill. What do you think about that? Does that sound good to you?
I think that would be really good
I
because
think,
it's I'm as much as I like the Breakfast Club, I will admit it is a little dated.
yeah. I mean, some moments are a little dated. Like, imagine cell phones, social media. That could be another factor.
Because that's a thing that that's a thing that with social media. How would that go?
I mean, let's say you have the Ali Sheedy character who was the nobody who didn't really talk to anyone, who was dressed in black. Let's say she's the one who has the like if they were to remake it, like that character could deal with things like social media. She could talk. That character could be like the quiet one who's off social media. You know what I mean? Like there's so many different elements there you could really use.
Let me ask you, who do you think would be the new Breakfast Club, like cast wise?
Oh my God! Wow, that's actually an extremely difficult question because the so key. It's like you literally just asked me how are you going to remake Back to the Future? The casting is the key part. Honestly, I don't know who you could. Who would you cast? You know what? I want to be completely honest with you. Go with Total Unknowns. And then have them break out in this film, in a remake of it. Have those actors break out and become stars. If you need one big name in there, so I'd say like I like Timothy Chalamet. You know who he is?
Yeah, I know who he is.
I think he would play a really good like either a Judd Nelson character or the either a Judd Nelson type character or the jock. Bless you.
Thank you.
I'm not sure which one he would do. I don't think I could see him as a nerd. I can see him as a jock or like some like punk guy. To be honest, I like Chalamet a lot. He's good. For like a Molly Ringwald type of character, you could have anyone from like Karen. Is Karen Gillian from Guardians of the Galaxy? She too old for that or no? She could probably rock that, right? Her name? Karen Gillian. Gillian, or she's from Doctor Who as well.
How do you spell her name?
I'll look her up. Karen Gillian. She was in Guardians of the Galaxy.
You know who I think would make a good like goth girl?
Yeah, who do you got?
Anya TaylorJoy.
I have to look that up. Who is it? Anya
TaylorJoy. Oh, Karen Gillian is 33.
Okay, that's not that. You could do that totally. You know what? This choice would be a great goth character. That'd be good. I could just see it just by the look on her face.
Yeah, Anya TaylorJoy. I think she would be good.
Yeah, but like Bender and Claire, like these are. I think a Breakfast Club is due for a remake, and if they were to do it, this could be it. I think, and you bring in other things like social media. You bring in like not like we'll get to it, but not like 13 Reasons Why, but like you can get into like this drama and stuff like that, and see. It's a film that you could really do a lot with, to be honest with you. So,
like the like bring up the, or like because when you first said this movie was due for a remake, I was like first going, how are you going to remake The Breakfast Club? But after what you've been saying,
yeah,
like put some like modern day problems in there.
Yeah, you just put like contemporary social teen anxiety, stress, social class in high school. There's other things you could do with it. So in my opinion, what?
Or maybe make one of the characters like LGBTQ.
That's another one. You could do that totally.
Because like back then there was sort of a stigma.
Of course.
Like back then, those were the days that you kept it hush hush.
You couldn't, like, when Freddie Mercury when everyone found out he was actually like gay, and you know what I mean, like that was a big thing back then because no one like really, you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, absolutely. Like,
I always go back to him as the example, but it's just the truth.
Like nowadays, well, I think it could work nowadays because now we live in a society that's more accepting of it. And, like maybe, give one character, maybe who comes from an extremely conservative family, and this person is gay, bisexual, transgender, or lesbian.
That could be a whole thing right there. Yeah.
And, how they're struggling with their sexuality.
They
And,
could do it,
because,
man.
people who do struggle to come out, that's a big mental health thing.
Right. I mean, yeah.
That does tolls on their mental health, those who are struggling to come out.
Yeah, it's very difficult to. I mean, I don't want to get into a whole thing about it, but like the whole LGBTQ plus community.
That's for next month. That's for Pride Month.
There we go. Right, we'll do it. And if you are gay, bisexual, lesbian, whatever, please watch next week. No, we have no idea. We'll see.
We'll figure it out because we do have something in store, but we don't know when we're going to do it yet.
Yeah, we'll figure that out. Well, that's a topic for another time. Any other comments for the Breakfast Club on guy? Do you think it's overall? You think it's worth a remake though?
I think it might be worth a remake. Like I said, I think it's good, but it is a little dated.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like you're remaking Ferris Bueller's Day Off, which is another John Hughes movie. Like you're not doing that.
That should not be remade. But I think, but you know what? Like, here's the problem. Like I said, but if we made it for today's society, like 20, 30 years from now, they might look at the remake and say, okay, this is dated.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see why not. I mean,
but yeah, I would say, if you set it and give them like modern day problems, I think it could work.
I definitely think so. Bottom line, guys, what do you guys think? Do you think the Breakfast Club deserves a remake? Do you think it deserves more love? Do you think it should be left alone? What do you guys think about it? Jump down in the comment section below and share your thoughts.
I want to just go to the chat board for a sec. Joe Wiley is in the chat. Hey, Joe.
Hey, Joe. How we doing?
And JT, your dad, interested in a thoughtful topic this week. Thank you.
Thanks, Dad. You're the best.
And I think this is your grandfather.
Oh, hey, Pop. How we doing?
Today, the cast would wear a mask.
Oh, well, who knows? We'll see. I went to the grocery store today without a mask on because they didn't have to. I was not required. I felt pretty good. Anyways, let's jump to our next
coming
movie.
off, folks. They're coming off.
They're coming off, baby. All right, Bill. One of the next movies that we wanted to talk about. I'll start with it, but I feel like you'll have a lot to say on it. And it's because we talked. I did not shoot a review for this movie yet. I've been meaning to, but I think it'd be worthwhile for us to talk about it. Yes. It's Russell Crowe in A Beautiful Mind.
Yes.
Have you seen this movie?
I have seen this movie.
Me too. Let's both comment on it, shall we?
In my high school psychology class.
Oh, wonderful.
In the same one, I watched One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest in.
Oh, nice.
This is actually based on a true story.
That's correct. Yes.
It's based on a guy named John Nash, who's like a mathematician, and he's a brilliant guy. And he is a little odd.
Yeah.
And he has all these illusions of, of things that happen. And, he gets married, has a kid. And it turns out that all these illusions he was having, that he works for the Department of Defense, that he had this roommate when he was in college, when he was in grad school, and that department and that roommate had a niece who he got close to. It turns out John Nash has schizophrenia.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yep.
And there was and it's a good movie, but I will admit it is sad to watch.
It absolutely is.
Because you see this man who's on top of the world, but then you realize it was just.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's a very sad movie. It's very powerful, but it's very sad at the same time.
Like Renee Zellweger plays his wife, John Nash's wife in the film.
Yep.
And that is her right there.
Yep.
And it's like when he's in the I want to get there for a second, but there was a scene when he was when he sees like men who think are like from the Soviets, because don't forget, folks, this is the 1950s. The Cold War is still
brewing.
So what happens is this doctor goes, "My name's Dr. So-and-so, Mr. Nash. Let's walk and talk." "No, you're taking me to Moscow." And then he punches him in the face, and then he wakes up in the psychiatric hospital, and he goes, and he's in a wheelchair with handcuffs, and he goes, "Where am I?" MacArthur Psychiatric Hospital. Okay, this one I kind of found a little funny. He's like, "Sorry about the restraints, but you have one mean left hook." Because he hit him. You have a mean left hook there, so we're sorry about the restraints. But then it's told like one of the, but then there's like this scene when like Renee Zellweger, his wife, is like denying that he's sick.
Yeah.
And he's saying like, his roommate, Charles, who he allegedly grew a friendship with, is not real. He's like, "Well, have you ever met Charles? Has he ever been over for dinner? Did he come to your wedding?"
I remember this scene. Yep.
And Renee Zellweger goes, well, John said he was busy teaching that week and he couldn't come. Said, "Well, yeah, we called the housing people at Princeton. They said John lived alone."
Yeah.
And then it's the scene when they're giving him shock therapy, which, guys, this was the 50s. Not too much was known about all this.
Yep, that's true.
And this movie was made in 2002, but it's played in the 50s.
Right.
And I love this quote, which really just hits everything. When he says, "All of those who have schizophrenia, those dreams, they're not dead. They're not gone. They just never were."
Mm-hmm.
And it's really sad. And then like the rest of the movie, I wouldn't want to say it's like super uncomfortable, but there are parts like, I don't know if you remember this part, JT, when Russell Crowe is giving his infant son a bath and he's like, the baby's like about to drown.
Oh God, yeah, that was scary.
And you go, "Charles, would you watch it for a second, please? Thanks." And then he's like going on, and he's like, "What the hell is going on?" He goes, "No, don't worry, Charles is watching him." Not that I'm not making fun. He goes, "Charles is watching him," and he goes like, "He's not there."
Right.
He's not real, John. He's not real. Look, yes, he is. He's right there. And then like the guy who allegedly works for the Defense Department, who's also in John's dream, said, "You better give me your son," or something like that. He goes, "John, just do what he," and he's like, the guy's holding a gun to Renee Zellweger's head, going, "John, you better do what he says," going, and then she like takes the baby and runs out. And I feel like this is the moment when John Nash realizes he's sick, when he keeps seeing Charles's niece.
Yeah.
And he runs out to the car, talks to Renee Zellweger, going, "She never ages. She's just been a little girl. I've known them for years. She's just a little girl. She stays a little girl. She doesn't age."
Right.
And yeah, and like this is a really, and this, again, I'm not a psychiatrist, I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a mental health expert, but it does really dive into someone who has schizophrenia.
Yeah, it's a good one to watch too. It's very, I mean, I don't want to say it's entertaining, but it's very informative if you watch it in that aspect.
This is actually a true story, but I will admit this is very romanticized.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, in real life, John Nash was not really that good of a person.
Yeah.
But I think like the thing was like, and it's interesting how other people see Nash's condition, like when he's out with Charles shooting pool, and one of the guys who who's like also a professor there or something, who's like also a grad student there. They're like going, John, who's winning? You or you? Like nobody else is there.
Right.
And or the scene when the Ed Harris's character, who's the Defense Department guy in his mind, walks away. And he goes, you can't do this to me. And somebody comes out and goes, John, are you okay? Like, I think what's interesting is how other people see it too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is how other people look through John's eyes. But I think like the last act, I think things get better as he learns how to become a better professor, and he's teaching and
right.
And this, when he does take like a little jab at his own condition, when somebody from the Nobel Committee, because true story, John Nash actually did win a Nobel Prize.
That's right. I did know that. Yep.
At the end, someone goes, "Hey, Dr. Nash, my name is so and so. I'm from the Nobel Committee," and he goes to one of his students and I like how he takes like a jab at his own condition, going, "Can you see him too?" And she goes, "Yeah, I can see him." Okay, he's real. And yeah, it is a really, JT, I've been talking about this. What are your thoughts?
I think you summarized everything beautifully, actually. No. Like, not to rip off the title of Beautiful Mind, but like you really this is why I have you on the show. Like, because this was, yes, I agree with every point you made. I agree with all the casting. I thought was great. Russell Crowe did a great job. He represented it very well, to be honest with you. Like, to actually try playing that character well, playing John Nash for that well, I thought was great. So, overall, though, I think if you haven't seen A Beautiful Mind, I recommend you check it out. This is another film you have to see. You have to see A Beautiful Mind to understand what some people go through on a daily basis and understand what they go through every day. Please watch it. It's a great film. If you haven't seen it, I recommend it.
Well, because you know what, though? I think when you play a character with any like disorder, well, it be mental or developmental, you have to keep in mind, how are they playing the character? Are they playing it with dignity? Are they playing it as just a caricature?
Right.
Because, that is that's something we'll get into in a little bit. But, some people do get concerned when you have someone who has a mental illness.
Yeah.
And that person doesn't have a mental illness. It kind of feels like, in a way, you're making fun of them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how you feel, but
no, I mean, I don't want to go into it too much because I want to go to our next couple topics, a couple of choices, selections. But I think that, but like basically everything you said makes sense, Bill. And I can't emphasize this enough. This is a great movie, and I really recommend you watch it and understand what some people, like I said, I can't emphasize. I'm just going to say it the way it is. If you want to understand a specific type of illness in any sort of art form, whether it be music, movies, whatever, this is a great one to check out. It's a fantastic picture on how some people are, and it's just the truth. So, all right, let's go on. Any final thoughts? Going once, twice.
I'm good.
So the Bill. There we go. All right, our next topic is a film that I personally have not seen, but I know Bill has, and I know some people watching this either live or listening to us as well, may have seen this, and it's Joker from 2019. Bill, do you remember this? I did not see it. You have the floor, so go ahead.
Okay, so Joker 2019. It's based off the Batman comic. Yes. But it's not a Batman movie, by the way.
No, I didn't think it would be based on anything I saw.
But Arthur Fleck is basically a party clown, and he's just basically beaten down by the world. and then he has this condition where he just randomly just laughs out of nowhere.
Mhm.
And it's not like a fun laugh. It just sounds like a forceful. It just sounds like a very forceful, painful laugh. Like it hurts. And when people look at him, he gives them this card saying, I have a condition. Please return this card.
Yeah.
And the film, you know what? I'm just going to be straight up honest. This is a very, very depressing film.
In what way? Because I haven't seen it yet. So in what way are you talking about?
I may be giving away some spoilers, but
Go ahead. I mean, it's fine with me, but I mean, you're good. So,
just like the tone is very dark. The tone is it's just how one man just goes absolutely insane. Quoting The Killing Joke.
mm-hmm.
It just takes one bad day for the sanest man to go crazy. Just one bad day.
It might add Joaquin Phoenix starred as it. I mean, he's a dynamite actor too.
Oh, he did fantastic. But I think, like, you know, even though this film is set in like the 70s or 80s, it does take like a lot of modern things. Like, for instance, there's and this what it deals with mental health. And this is the thing. He's in the office with his therapist, and he goes, Arthur, she goes, Arthur, this is going to be our last session. And he goes, why? They cut our funding. The city cut our funding.
Mm.
Well, how am I going to get my meds? I don't know.
Oh boy.
And they don't say what the exact condition is, but he just goes absolutely crazy. And there's a scene when he's on the subway and he's laughing. And these Wall Street guys are about to kick his you know what, and then he ends up freaking killing them.
Jeez.
And then there's also themes of class warfare and all that, but we won't get into that. Because someone's running for mayor, and you know who it is? Thomas Wayne.
Mm.
And there's, as what do you think about those Wall Street guys? Go, that guy killed 3 good, hardworking men. And it's like, I'm their only hope, blah, blah, blah. He's an asshole. And there's also this small subplot that Arthur may be Thomas Wayne's son. Yeah, it's a little confusing.
A little bit, yeah.
It's never officially confirmed, but saying that means, folks, by that logic, the Batman and Joker are half brothers.
Oh boy.
But again, I think Thomas Wayne just says, I've only watched it once because, to be honest, that's all I could sit through.
Is it really? I mean, I'm asking you now because you saw it. Is it that disturbing?
Well, I wouldn't say disturbing. It's not a feel-good story. Let's just say that.
No, I would not think so if it's the Joker.
Because you know what? Because there are scenes when, again, I'm giving out a spoiler. I'm sorry. When he goes to they find out his origins, and I'm guessing the mother adopted him and found him handcuffed to a radiator, found him chained to a radiator. That's how she found him as a kid.
Oh my God.
And that really screws it up. And there is a scene when his mother's in the hospital and he suffocates her.
Jesus Christ.
He goes, I thought my life was a tragedy, but you know what? It's a comedy. And he just kills her. And this guy is just very... Do you mind if I say the ending, or would you rather watch for yourself?
You're fine. It's fine. I'll watch it eventually, so you're fine.
So, okay, and throughout all this, he's a stand-up comedian.
Okay.
And then he's on he gets invited to be on this this late night show after a video of him bombing at stand-up goes viral. Well, not viral, 70s, 80s viral as it's shown on. And then they invited him, the host, who was played by Robert De Niro. Yep, another Robert De Niro reference today, folks.
There we go.
And he goes, and that's the trademark. Can you introduce me as Joker? And, you know, and he's on the show. And, you know, that whole thing when he killed the Wall Street guys. And he's like, and, you know, there's like people rising up in like his mask to defend him. And he's on the show and he goes, and like, this is, I know this is not like exactly what we're talking about, but this does show like a perfect like Joker when he goes, "You're not political, right?" Because I don't believe in anything, which is just basically like that quote in The Dark Knight. Some people just want to watch the world burn.
Yep.
And he goes, "You know what? So, but what do you think about those two guys who killed? You know what? I'll be honest with you. I killed them." And he just says it so nonchalantly.
Wow.
But yeah, before that, he tells some very deep, disturbing joke. And I remember watching this in the theaters. I'm like, oh boy. And then
you saw it in theaters?
I saw it in theaters.
Oh God.
Why do you say, oh God?
No, because I mean, I knew it was like one of the best movies of that year, but like, God, that takes guts, man. I don't know if I could sit there. I could watch it at home, but watching this movie in a theater.
Like, I remember, and then like Murray Franklin goes, "You're kidding, right?" I go, "No, I killed them." And then they're talking, "You know what? You deserve to be locked up somewhere. Call the police." He goes, "Hey, Murray, how about another joke?" And he goes, No, I've had enough of you. Go and get this guy off the stage. He goes, "What do you get? A guy who is kicked down by society and tossed around like nothing. You get what you deserve," and shoots him. And then like, I remember when that scene happened, all of us were just like, I was like literally thinking, like, listen, this wasn't a bad movie. This was not a bad movie.
I don't think it was.
Thinking, oh my God, get me out of here.
Wow.
And I'm like, and then he gets arrested and they do show him just laughing in a mental hospital.
Oh God.
And then the doctor goes, "What's so funny?" I said, "Just a joke." And he goes, "What is it?" And he goes, you want to tell me?" He goes, "You wouldn't get it." And then he starts singing the song, "That's Life" by Frank Sinatra. That's life. Yep. And he goes, "That's what people say." And he's walking back and there's blood on his footprints. Hinted that he
killed him. Wow. Crazy.
And I remember just walking out of there. I felt very empty walking out.
I mean, you must have been drained.
I'm like, oh my God.
You're
like,
not gonna be able
you
to
know
sleep.
what? It's like this scene, it's like, and you know what I found very, very disturbing?
What?
Just like surrounding it, people brought their kids to see this.
Thinking that it'd be all like Heath Ledger.
Because they thought, oh, it's a Batman. It's a comic book movie. How bad could it be?
And then they saw it for what it was.
Because there was actually some movie theater, I want to say it was in Virginia.
It said no kids?
It said, "Please don't take your kids to see Joker. This is about a man who descends into madness and depression and anxiety. Don't take the kids. Batman's not in it." We do see a young Bruce Wayne, but
right, but it's a Joker film for a reason.
And people just and you know what? Because I think the message of that film is basically how we as a society treat mental health.
That's a very good point.
Because here's the thing: when that scene I told you, when they're saying, "Arthur, they cut our funding," and like that's what causes some of these incidents to happen, unfortunately, because these people can't get the care they need.
Wow.
They can't get the care they need. And, you know, when this movie was coming out, I don't know if you remember this, there was a lot of concern not just how they portrayed mental health, but they thought there was going to be they thought that like there was, I want to say it was in LA. I could be wrong, but they actually canceled screenings of it because they got like a credible threat of something that was going to happen.
Oh God. Okay.
And there was also shootings this one I believe is justified. There was the movie theater in Aurora where the shooting in 2012 of The Dark Knight Rises happened.
Oh God. Yeah.
They actually whatchamacallit, they actually pulled showings of that movie. They said, we're not going to show it because we think it's disrespectful to those who, because don't forget, the guy who did that shooting, James Holmes, dyed his hair and said he was the Joker.
Oh, yeah. That's not to laugh, but that's pretty bad.
Because don't forget, like, I think that, like, listen, I'm a big fan of whole, like, canceling movies, but I think that was kind of justified because in that area, because I get it, it's a very sensitive area. People are probably still scarred from it.
Yeah, I agree.
But yeah, this movie, like I said, I could only really, like, I remember I tried watching it again when it was on like HBO or something.
Yeah,
I couldn't. I had to change the channel.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I feel like it is a disturbing film, but sometimes I think we need to feel uncomfortable to address problems.
Okay.
We do need to feel uncomfortable, and we do need to have conversations. And listen, they're not going to be pleasant conversations. They're not going to be all hunky-dory. But I think when we do discuss mental health in general, we need to have that conversation. And listen, and the good thing about this movie was it was starting up conversations about mental health.
Yeah, that's good.
And, when these incidents happen, because I remember back when we were talking about Aurora, I was in this pre-college program when I was going to community college, and it was a summer program. And I remember the Monday after that incident happened in Aurora, I remember a teacher that I had came in and he said, listen, if you're having any issues, any mental health issues at all, please come talk to me or find someone to talk to, because I don't want you to be that guy. Which, yeah, so I know you haven't seen it and you had to sit here and listen to me drone on and on and on and on.
No, I really don't mind. If you want to check the chat board for a second, too, that'd be good.
Okay, let me check the chat board for
we've had a lot of Joker conversation going on here.
Okay, Azim, the media was doing some fear mongering for this movie. Yes, Azim, I kind of agree with you. There was absolutely no threat seeing this movie in theaters. They kept saying, Azim, I did hear, listen, do not hold me to this, Azim, but I did hear that there was some threat in Los Angeles and they had to cancel showings back then. Again, Azim, do not hold me to this, but I can look it up and get back to you. I will, like I said, I'm not exactly, but I do remember hearing something along those lines. And I think Aurora did cancel a showing. But again, I don't exactly remember. Let me look this up. But yeah, I agree but disagree. I can about that it was a sting, that it was causing some backlash, because on one hand, I get it that people are concerned about how mental health is portrayed in films, and that's to get to another pick in a bit when we get to it. But I think in another way, it and yeah, like the only thing that was justified, again, I think was Aurora. I think that was the only thing that was justified, and that was Aurora. I'm not trying to start a fight with you, Azim, but I'm just going off what I heard.
Any other comments, concerns, questions for Joker?
No, I think I'm good. I think I just gave my 20-minute TED talk.
I might just watch it tonight. No, I'm kidding. I'll watch it at some point. But that's, I mean, I'm glad we brought it up for this topic. I have one last topic for us to talk about.
If it's movie wise, I got one more movie to talk about. And okay, this is kind of cheating because the movie isn't out yet.
Oh yeah, you wanted to talk about Dear Evan Hansen, right?
I want to talk about Dear Evan Hansen.
Go ahead. I will be right back. It's all you.
The trailer just dropped this week, actually. Well, either this week or last week. The trailer just dropped. It comes out in September.
I'll be right back.
I'll be right here. It's based on the Broadway musical by Pasiak or Pasek. I say Pasiak. JT says Pasek. I don't know how to say it. But Pasek and Paul, the same team that brought us La La Land and The Greatest Showman. And so what it's about, like I've only listened to some of the soundtrack. I haven't seen the show, so I'm not an expert. But Dear Evan Hansen is about a teenager who has social anxiety and this kid who he somewhat makes friends with unfortunately takes his own life. And throughout, they find a letter that they said that the kid wrote to Evan Hansen, but it was a letter that he wrote, which was an assignment from his therapist. And it's basically, he's been taken in with his with that kid's family. He develops basically a love interest to the sister, and not going to get into the whole thing. But because, like I said, I have not seen the show. But I think, that's like how other mediums are portraying mental health and, social anxiety. Maybe it is a condition because I know people who have it. I know people who have it, and I know it may not sound as serious as something like schizophrenia or the other things we've been talking about tonight, but I think it is good that it's being addressed. And you know what? Go ahead, audience. You can laugh at me. I actually want to see this movie. When it comes out, I actually want to see it.
I do too. I know the play very well.
Oh wait, have you seen it or?
No, I've listened to it on because some people like listen to plays on Spotify and stuff like that.
That's you.
Well, I was for a little bit. I do like it, but
Yeah, no, I would like to see it. I've only listened to a few songs. I feel the music is very good. And like I said, it's Pasak or Pasiak?
For what, the last name?
Yeah. Is it Pasak or Pasiak?
I have no idea.
Yeah, but Ben Plath, who played him on Broadway, is actually reprising his role.
He's fantastic. I love him.
He is.
Was he in Pitch Perfect?
I think he was.
I forget. No, he was the weird, awkward kid in Pitch Perfect.
Yeah, I think he was.
Yeah.
This would usually be the time I'd be asking Anna Kendrick to call me, but since we are on this serious topic, I am not going to do that.
We'll do a shout out at the end. It's fine.
But anyway, yeah, like this, like I said, I can't really say too much because the movie hasn't come out yet and I haven't seen the show. So
yeah, I mean, I can only comment so much. So
yeah, but you know what? I'd be interested to see this movie. I actually just watched the trailer yesterday.
Yeah.
And I'm like, ooh, this looks good. And because, there are a few songs I actually do like. I think my personal favorite one is the song Waving Through a Window.
Mm-hmm. I like the opening fanfare. Dear Evan Hansen. I like that part.
But yeah, I'm curious to see how they're going to adopt this to film.
Yeah, it should be interesting how the Tony Award-winning musical off Broadway gets to do this.
Yeah. Okay. We do got a few more things to touch on.
All right, what do you got? Because I got a TV show that I want to touch on, but what do you have? Because I got one more thing.
Okay. This is not a mental illness. It's a developmental disorder. But since that month passed last month, and I was going to do a movie review for it, and I'm also going to do a TV show about it. So,
yeah, what do you got?
Okay, last month was Autism Awareness Month.
Correct.
And I'm sorry we're kind of clumping Autism and Mental Health Awareness Month into one, but I was going to do a review of this movie, but some personal things came up and it kind of got sidetracked.
It's totally fine.
And that is Rain Man.
With Tom Cruise.
This movie came out. I've only seen parts of it, but I know what pretty much to say. This movie came out in 1988. So it's Tom Cruise and Dustin Hoffman.
Mm-hmm.
Tom Cruise plays this rich guy whose father passes away. And he's thinking he's getting his car, but he isn't. It's being left to this guy who he doesn't know. And it goes to a institution. And it turns out the guy is his brother, played by Dustin Hoffman, who is an autistic savant. So they go on this road trip together, and, there's like a brotherhood being built. And, it does show like classic, some things of autism, such as regiment, like he always has to watch people's court at a certain time or always has to go to bed at a certain time. But he's also very smart and basically helps him count cards in a casino.
Uh-huh.
Okay, I'm going to be honest with you, folks. This movie is terribly dated.
I mean, it looks dated, too.
Like, just know how we handle autism back then, of how they handled it.
Oh, I see.
Like, because don't forget, like I've said it a few times, I'm on the spectrum myself, and I say that this movie is terribly dated because we know much more about autism now than we did back then. And it's a good movie, but I will admit it is dated. Now, a TV show that also tackles autism that I would like to speak about, if that's okay, JT, because I know you want to get to yours. But
and we'll make mine the last of the night because that's all I got. So, but go ahead.
And since we're on the top, and that is, The Good Doctor.
Way ahead of you, bud. Go ahead. Spill your guts, Bill. Spill your guts.
For those of you who do not know me or know this is a show about a doctor named Sean Murphy. No relation. I'm not related to a fictional character. But Dr. Sean Murphy is someone who's on the autism spectrum, who is a surgical resident. And he is training to become a doctor. And throughout the show, it does what I like about this show, because a lot of people, this show in the autism community actually has like a mixed reaction. Some people love it. Some people can't stand it. Me, I could probably do a whole separate video on this, but me as someone who is on the spectrum, I actually don't find anything. This is just my personal view.
Yeah.
This is how I personally see it. If you see it a different way, then you're entitled to your own opinion. But I think like I said, I love this show. This is actually one of my favorite shows. Because it shows that someone who's on the spectrum can do anything. And, and it's not just the doctor thing. Yeah, he does have problem with communication, but it does show that people with autism are just normal people. Yeah, they might function different, but he can have a job that about 90% of the world probably can't do, being a doctor, but also, personal life. He can have relationships. He is actually in a relationship now in the show, but I like how they do show how someone with autism can do anything. And, this goes into something we were talking about this, how people with different mental health disorders, are portrayed. Because one of the big controversy of this show is Freddie Highmore. You may remember him as Charlie in Tim Burton's Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Actually plays Sean.
Oh, wow.
And Freddie Highmore is neurotypical.
Okay.
Or doesn't have autism. And a lot of people find that kind of troublesome.
Oh.
That you have someone who is neurotypical play someone with autism.
Yeah.
If you ask me personally, I think as long as it's played with dignity, I don't really see an issue with it. I know some people may disagree with me and they're entitled to their opinion, but I really don't. Because I do think he does play Sean with dignity and respect. He doesn't try to make him he doesn't try to drive him over.
Yeah.
He does show how he has problems with social skills, how he has some sensory problems. And yeah, I'm going to admit the most recent season has been, there's 2 episodes left, but most of this season has been absolutely heartbreaking. I'm not getting into too much detail because I don't want to spoil it for those who are trying to catch up.
Yeah.
But this show is, again, I want to say autism is not a mental illness.
Correct.
It is a developmental disorder.
Correct.
But I think, it does involve the mind. And I'm thinking, since we didn't really do anything for Autism Awareness Month last month because I was dealing with some things, I thought we kind of lump it in. But again, I'm not trying to say autism is a mental illness. And that's what I have to say on that.
Wise words from a wise man. That is Bill Murphy. You are the man, Bill. Thank you so much thank you as always for sharing your input. I love hearing your input, and that's why I have you as my co-host.
I'm honored to be here. So you have one more you want to talk about, you said?
I have one more that I would like to shed some light on in a positive and negative way. Given that it's over, but Bill, I'll let you chime in whenever you're ready. But I want to talk about 13 Reasons Why.
I remember we actually talked about this. I think was it during our overrated TV shows, I think.
Who thought? What did Dan bring it up or did I bring it up?
I think it was Dan that brought it. It was either you or Dan who brought it up.
I think I brought it up. I said I just didn't like how they handled certain things, to be honest. And plus, it was based on a book and whatever. Look, you want to? I know the initial episode of our Mixed Bag show was unpopular opinions. I thought this was a terrible idea to make. I will go so far as to say that. I have very strong feelings about this show. I did see the whole first season. I did. And I was disgusted by this. I know Bill has gone off on his tangents, but I'm going to go off on mine.
Go right ahead.
This show on Netflix was atrocious. Yes, it was based off a book. Yes, it was based off of this girl got killed or she killed herself. Listen to me right now. This show, 13 Reasons Why, it's disturbing. It makes me sick to my stomach because people I know, my family is, I'm not going to go into too much on them, but basically they are in the education field and they had conversations with people about this show in their school districts, not just here in New York, not just in New Jersey, but across the country. People are having conversations about 13 Reasons Why and how stupid this show is and what topics it brought up. It was highly disrespectful because, it disgusts me personally as a human being. I know, Bill, you've gone off on your tangents. Like I said, I'm going off on mine.
Dude, go right ahead. I might
This show fucking sucks. because not because of the quality of it, not because no, but because the storylines, and the story itself is awful. And this could play into the whole conversation. I'm not going to let it, but this could be a whole conversation about why Netflix is going downhill or things like that. And this stuff like Disney Plus might take over. This is a whole thing. I want to get on the actual book Wikipedia page of this, because this thing is awful. I hate this topic. It's about a girl who commits suicide and leaves behind cassette tapes for 13 people who blames for her demise as a person. And you're going to make a fucking TV show out of this? You have got some audacity, Netflix. Like this mental health awareness, okay? A girl kills herself. Do you have any idea what Netflix's The Show caused school districts, police departments, all across the United States of America and possibly the world to band together and say, look, this is really fucked up. We're not going to talk about this. I hated when this was on, and I hated watching every single second of it because, let me just try it out, right? No, this was awful. I hated this so much when it came out. And they're like, it's a popular Netflix thing. They made 4 fucking seasons out of it. Bullshit.
Can I ask you a question, JT, if you don't mind?
Bill, go ahead. Calm me down.
This may get you fired up again.
What?
But do you think this show sort of like, because I remember I've watched like some YouTube videos that, do you think this sort of like romanticizes suicide in a way?
It does. It does. No. You are absolutely correct.
Like, I can't really speak to the matter because I never really watched it. Like, maybe I remember my brother was watching it, and I walked in when he was watching it, and I just sat down on the couch while he was watching it. I was like on my phone or something.
Yeah.
But I do remember he did show. He said at one point I was curious. I'm like, maybe I should give it a watch. Because don't do it.
No, because
then he showed me a certain scene, and I just said, you know what? I'm not watching the show.
Honestly, it's an atrocious show. It's a disgusting show. It's honest. I don't care. I don't care about like. This show makes me upset that that stuff like this gets greenlit in studios, and it's awful. It's just like, why? First off, the subject matter alone is controversial, let alone you're going to make a Netflix show about it. And this show just makes me sick. It makes suicide look like a joke when ending your life is not a joke. And I'm saying this on air, I'm saying this to whoever's out there listening to this. If you are ever in trouble, get help.
Absolutely.
If you are ever in need, get help. If you feel left out, talk to a friend, talk to your mom or dad, talk to a parent, talk to a grandparent, talk to a neighbor, talk to whoever you can trust to make sure that you're okay. Because once you're not, listen, it's a permanent solution to a temporary problem.
Absolutely.
All right. This show fucking overdid everything to me. And I'm sorry I'm swearing. I don't like swearing on camera and stuff like that. But like,
no, dude, I understand. Like I said,
this show amplified suicide, and it showed how, it's like all dramatic. Like, look, I'm gonna get like my cocky voice. This show like suicide is no big deal. Bullshit.
You know what? I want to say this. I want to say this on a personal matter, if that's okay.
Go ahead, Bill.
Because let me tell you, and you know what? Now you're getting me all fired up.
Sorry, I don't mean to. I don't mean to. I really don't mean to. But
because from a personal standpoint, I had a friend. He's still alive, but I had a friend who texted me one time and said he was thinking about killing himself.
That's awful.
And he said, like, I was talking to him at like the late hours of the night, and I actually thought he was going to do it. So
and did you get him help?
What was that?
Did you get him help?
I was on the phone with the suicide hotline till like 3 a.m.
Good, guys. So you helped him out though.
I helped him out. He's doing okay today.
Great. That's
he's,
good.
He's still got some work to do, but he's getting help.
And this is why you cannot. I'm telling you all this. Mental health. You need to express your health. You need to tell people.
And I just want to share the lady I was talking to on the suicide hotline. She was fantastic. She was just absolutely awesome.
That's good to know because now people can go online and go call that line. I think didn't Logic do a song about that?
Yes, and you want to know? I just got to say this one thing about the song before I get back on that. I remember that song would be playing in like bars and clubs when I was in New Paltz, and I didn't know what that song was about.
Until then.
I did not know what that song was about. And then I remember Logic did that song at the Grammys.
Right.
And I remember I'm like, wait a minute, this song's about suicide? And then I like literally went upstairs to my room, put on my earbuds, pulled up YouTube, and I just sat there and just listened to the words.
Yeah.
And I'm like, whoa. Because I remember going into the bars and that, I hated that song because it was always being played.
Yeah.
But now I'm like, holy shit, I have a newfound respect for this song. Like, I didn't know what it was about.
Yeah.
And then you can't hear it over like hundreds of screaming drunk college kids. But when I took another listen to it, I'm like, whoa, I didn't know. And like when he said, I want to live today or something like that. And yeah, but that's the thing. That's the thing, guys. It's like, and I see why you hate this because it does romanticize things like that.
And it shouldn't. There should be no romanticizing of it. If you hate,
you know what? People who wrote this never had to stay up. Probably okay. I don't know these people who wrote it. I don't know what they're like. I don't know them personally. I don't sit down and play golf with them. But
golf.
Yeah, I don't play golf. I suck at it. But anyway, how much you want to bet these people never? I don't want to make assumptions, but they probably never had to stay up till 3 a.m. making sure their friend doesn't kill themselves.
I agree. No, I second that. That's absolutely true.
Like, how much do you want to bet they've never done that?
A lot.
And yeah, it's just, because I've been in that situation when I had to be on the phone with the hotline to make sure my friend didn't do it. And I don't want to get too much into the story, but like I said, the woman who was on the phone was wonderful. And she wasn't just concerned about my friend. She sounded like she was concerned about me too. She said, okay, here's what I want you to do. I want you to reach out to him as soon as you can, but please get some sleep first. You sound like, I said, tonight I got to go to bed with that on my conscience.
Yeah.
And then she goes, listen, just call him tomorrow, try to get some sleep tonight. And yeah, this is a good one to bring up, to be honest with you. Yeah, but you know what? I think maybe this show is kind of a blessing in disguise. Hear me out.
Go ahead. I'm listening.
This is probably the show to show everything what not to do about this topic.
I agree.
Like, how do you think stuff like this should be portrayed?
It should not be portrayed like this, where we leave tapes behind.
And because I know a lot of school districts were very concerned about this show.
That's what I was saying. Like, there were so many across the nation. Like, people were like, okay, now we have to tell our kids. Literally, there were flyers sent home at some points about kids watching this. Because we don't want to get any ideas. Well, because Netflix does that. So.
But you know what? On the other hand, no, this is another conversation. Then parents need to step up and not let their kids watch it. It's simple as that. You can put the blocks on there of what your kids can and can't listen. Neither of us have children, so we can't really speak to that matter.
Yeah, I don't have kids either. So,
but you can but parents, you can put blocks on Netflix to determine what your kids can and can't watch.
Please do.
Please.
Ozark, anyone?
Hey, my dad likes that show. Don't pick on Ozarks.
Sorry. You know what I mean, though.
But yeah, I understand.
So
I think you need to. I think they. Yeah. Well, this was a heavy topic this week.
I know, and for those of you who are wondering why did we do this, it's because May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and technically it shouldn't just be a month. You should always be mentally healthy and aware of what's going on with your life, no matter what and where you are in life. It's just the truth. You got to be careful. You got to be safe. Do what you got to do. So,
absolutely.
Bill, do you have any other things you want to bring up, or are we good for the night?
I think we're okay. Like, there is a movie that I didn't see, but this was actually from a shout out to our dear friend Matt Hemsley. He couldn't be here tonight. He had some commitments.
Yeah.
But he did recommend the movie The Perks of Being a Wallflower.
Oh, that's a good one.
Oh, can you talk about that a little bit, or
I only a little. I'm not sure I'm looking at the right one. I haven't seen it, but I know about it. Emma Watson's in it. I know that. I can't really go much into it because I haven't seen it, but I do know like Ezra Miller, who's now the Flash, is in it and stuff like that.
We do like to thank Matt Hemsley for the recommendation.
Yes, thank you, Matt Hemsley. Well, this is our last topic for the night, guys. So I just want to let you know.
Okay, guys.
But I mean, I do know. I've heard about it a lot. I don't know exactly what it's about. Oh, Logan Lerman's in it. That's right. It's about like someone who has PTSD and he goes through his journey in high school and he makes new friends. And it has a bunch of other people in it too, like Paul Rudd and John Cusack's in it and stuff like that. So, Joan Cusack, sorry. Yeah. I this is another one. I haven't seen it, but I do recommend you seeing it, and to myself as well. That's another one I recommend seeing because it is very good. To my understanding, it is very good. I do like. I mean, a lot of people don't really. A lot of people think I'm like the big budget blockbuster guy. I like independent films a lot, to be honest with you. There's a couple of coming of age films I like too. Perks of Being Wall. I like not Perks of Being Wallflower. The one with Miles Teller. I can't think of it. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
And Shailene Woodley. I forget the name of it though. Anyways, but if you think about it, let me know in the chat board or whatever. But yeah, anything on Perks of Being Wallflower. I mean, I haven't seen it. I do know what you're talking about. Thank you, Matt Hemsley. But I do know this is a very good one.
Matt Hemsley. Hopefully, when your schedule calms down, we can have you back.
Yeah, I'd love to have you back, bud. Any other comments for that, Bill? Or are we all good?
I think we're good. Okay, guys, this was a.
Well, in that case, everyone, I really hope that you all had a fantastic time. I know, listen, this is a very, very controversial topic, or not controversial, but just a heavy topic in general. But we want to thank you so much for listening to us and watching us tonight.
Yeah, thanks. And hopefully next week we can go back to more lighter topics.
And more fun topics.
Yeah, we just thought this was a topic that needed to be addressed. And
yeah.
Listen, again, like what JT said, if you are experiencing any issues with mental health,
get help.
Please get help.
Listen.
Go. There's no shame in going to seek professional help. I see a therapist every week. There's no shame in talking about it.
There's no shame in telling your friends, or trust me, in today's day and age, believe it or not, if it was 1985, you might have a harder time. It's 2021. You should be okay. And I want to thank Bill, of course, joining us as well every week. Thank you so much, Bill, for this. This is a big topic. Thank you so much, buddy.
You're welcome, my friend. You are so welcome.
Yeah, and like I said, thank you so much for joining us, everyone. You guys are amazing. And like I said, as I can't emphasize this enough, get help. If you feel you need it, get it. We're in the middle of a pandemic still, whether you like to believe it or not. Even if you're vaccinated or not, if you need help, there's always someone to talk to. Just reach out to whoever you can, and God bless you all. Seriously. So, but on that note, next week, Wednesday night, will be our next Mixed Bag episode. Thank you so much for watching us tonight.
And we'll be talking about something more fun, hopefully.
Yes, I'll let you guys know what the next week's topic is, probably next Monday or Tuesday. But then we'll figure that out in a little bit. But I want to thank the good man joining me as always, Bill Murphy. Thank you so much.
Always a pleasure.
And wait, I forgot to mention, we did bring up Pitch Perfect in a sense. Anna, call him. Just saying.
Call me Anna.
Yeah, just at Anna Kendrick.
Way to end a dark episode.
Yeah, right. Anna Kendrick helps out. But thank you, everyone. Thanks again for watching. You guys are the best. We'll see you guys next week on another episode of Mixed Bag. We'll see you later. Have
Bye,
a good
guys.
one.